yes. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly live here on Studio Live today for yet another week. This is our live show all about all things GarageBand. I'm your host, Pete Johns. And on this show, we've got a bunch of stuff to get through, so we better get cracking. We'll be talking about some new apps being released. We'll be talking about a famous lead singer using GarageBand to record an isolation song. Who would have thunk it? And I'll be ranting about subscription services. Grrr, but all that and more coming up here on the show in the next 30 minutes. For those that are here live on YouTube and Facebook, hello. I hope you're doing well. We've got a bunch of folks. We've got Langston Reese, Metallian SM Borthwick is here, Scott's here, Alex Backus is here. We've got Jade Starr. We have a Metallian 58. Zila, hello to you. Hello to Beckley Aideen. Hello to MN Keeper. Hello to Nick. And I've probably missed a bunch of folks. Pete Johns is in there too. Wait, that's me. And hello to Sion and Ian and Fallen. Let's crack on. If you do have questions or any statements or comments you want to make as we go through here today, please drop them down in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, don't worry, we love you just as much. You can just throw a comment down in the comments section, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are on this great internet place of ours. Let's jump into some news and notes from the week, shall we? Because I haven't been live all weekend, so I've got a lot to talk about, a lot to get off my chest. So let's jump in to our news and notes, our lead story here. So I teased it in the intro there. So the Moody Blues are a band that some of you may know. Some of the more aged members of our community, like myself, may remember the Moody Blues from back in the 70s. Well, their singer, John Lodge, released an isolation song this week, not surprisingly, because you know what? Everyone's doing their ISO song. So John Lodge has released a song called In These Crazy Times. And there's a really cool article over on Forbes. I'll link it down in the description. You can have a read of it afterwards, but he basically goes through the process that he went through, because a lot of folks are doing the same sort of things here at the moment, which is that, and I've actually had emails from some reasonably well-known people that have actually said, hey Pete, I checked out your videos and now I'm recording using GarageBand, because guess what? I can't get into the studio. The studios are all shut and my producers are not available and my recording engineers aren't available. So guess what? I got to do it all myself. And I say, well, that's pretty cool, because there's a big community of us who do it all ourselves all the time, either through convenience or through money. Welcome to GarageBand. So welcome John Lodge to the world of GarageBand. And I haven't listened to his tune yet, but I'm going to go check it out after this show and see what he has produced. But he literally said, yeah, I went and checked out GarageBand and I had to learn from scratch and I'd never used anything before and I thought that was the way to go. So no wonder GarageBand has the views. If you go to Google Trends and you look at the views for GarageBand or the search results for GarageBand, they have gone through the roof in the last sort of 4 or 5 months, because every man and his dog wants to record and they want to use GarageBand because they hear that it's cool and free and easy, and it's all of those things. So yes, I thought that was kind of cool. Look, there hasn't been a whole lot else going on in the world of GarageBand. About every week or two, another website that I sometimes have and sometimes haven't heard of puts out their top 5 music apps for iOS. So Know Your Mobile has put out their top 5. Now, I don't know much about Know Your Mobile either, but I thought it was interesting. Number 1 is GarageBand, not surprisingly. So GarageBand gets the nod as number 1, as always. Number 2, they gave to Cubase IC Pro, which is the remote control app for Cubase. And I thought, this is making this list seem a little bit strange, because you have to have Cubase to use the remote control for Cubase. So I don't really understand that. Number 3 went to iMachine 2. So the wonderful Native Instruments app. Now, I've never used it, but I know many people that swear by it and tell me that it's super cool. So maybe one day I do need to actually check it out. I'm not much of a sequencer kind of person, but other people have told me that I should get on into it. Then an app called iSongwriter, which again, I'm not super familiar with, but it looks kind of cool. Looks like you can do some chord progressions and you can do some melodies and some notation. So I'm definitely going to have to play with that one. And one that people have told me is cool is Chordana. So Chordana Play is the app they've got here, and they've given an idea of this one. That looks more like a learning kind of app, which not checked out, but may do. I always check out these lists because maybe there's some hidden gem in there that I haven't actually seen that I should go away and actually take a look at. Right. The third bit of news here. So I wanted to call this one out. It's not my app of the week because I haven't actually used it. So I couldn't really make it my app of the week without actually using it. But my buddy Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide has, and it's an app called Koala FX. So let's bring up my iPad here so that we can take a quick look at it. I should have had my iPad up there with Chrome to show you some of those previous ones, but we'll just jump here into the App Store now. Hold the line, please. We'll jump on over to the App Store. Ooh, what's that? A mesmerizing musical experience. This looks cool. Sorry, something shiny happened, and I just need to click this and find out what this is first. It's no surprise that an app by electronic music legend Jean-Michel Jarre pushes. What is this? What is this? It looks like some sort of visualizer app. What is it? Eon by Jean-Michel Jarre. There you go. I'll need to have a look at that afterwards. Stop getting distracted by shiny things, Pete. If we come in here, let's take a look at Koala. Oh, I'm going to click in the bits. So you might remember that Koala Sampler. What if we just search Koala? Will this show us both? Yeah, so the Koala Sampler is something that I've used a bunch and I've talked about before. It's a very quick and simple and effective sampler app where you can sample in and then you can make your beats on the go using your own found sounds and samples, and it's pretty darn cool. Do we have it here? I might have to search for it. Hang on. But we have a new app which is called Koala FX, which takes the best of the FX from within the Koala sampler engine and it gives them to you as an AUV3 plugin. Yes, you can finally use all of those cool effects that we've been using in our 8-way crossfader there, that we've been using in our Koala. Integrate with your favorite DAW. You can see it there on GarageBand. It's looking good. It's by Elf Audio, so you know it's good. Use it standalone if you want to use it for live performances, and you can, of course, use that AUV3 plugin. It's got a really interesting and sort of intuitive app interface for adding all the different effects that you can put in there, and you can see you've got flanges and filters and phases and bit crushes and all the fun stuff. So if you're into probably more your electronic music stuff, this could be something that you may want to check out. It's not super expensive. It's $6 here in Australia, which means it's probably $3 or $4 in the US and your country's equivalent. But Patrick reviewed it and likes it, and I'll put a link to Patrick's review down in the description of this one. And yeah, look, it's number 44 on the music charts at the moment. So get in there and check it out if you're into that kind of thing. Let's come on back here. So that is our news and notes for the week. What do you think? Anything happening in the GarageBand world that you would like to throw out there? Please let me know. And if you do have any questions or comments again, and you're just joining us here live, throw those and put question in front. If you've got a question, make sure you put big question in front of it. That means I'll be able to jump in and find it and see what you've got to say. Let's move on here because, do I have a rant? All right, I need to get myself settled in here to the chair for this rant because this is one that's been bugging me for a while. Need to get it off my chest, and I haven't done any live shows this weekend. This is my first one, so yes, we're going to get a little ranty here. So let's start this rant. We're talking subscription services. Yes, I know. Now, before I do this, let me say, subscription services are good. I'm not here to tell you that subscription is bad because subscription services allow you to use services that would cost you hundreds or thousands of dollars for only a small monthly fee. That part of it, super cool. I'm 100% on board. I don't want to pay no $700 for Adobe Premiere and Adobe Photoshop, but if I'm a creator and I can spend $30 a month and I'm getting value out of it, more power to me, more power to Adobe. And the same with all of your music creation and your video creation apps. Whilst I would prefer to pay a once-off fee, if there's a smaller fee and it's a subscription fee and I can just use it and it does what I want it to do, that's all cool. Here's the thing that I don't like about subscription apps is that they seem to use a business model of tricking you into continuing with their services. So hands up and let me know in the comments or the chat if you've had a subscription service that you've signed up to that's a free trial or a 1 month and then you've forgotten to cancel it. And why do you forget to cancel it? Well, yes, the onus is on you to remember to cancel it. They tell you all that. They've got the terms of service. They've got all the protections. Legally, they're doing absolutely nothing wrong. But why do they not give you 3 days before the expiry a reminder email, a text message, a notification within the app? There are so many ways to notify your customer that a subscription is about to be renewed. Why do they choose not to do it? The only possible reason I can think of is that they want you to continue your subscription, whether you want to or not. And that's the rub. That's the bit that gets me every time, is that if I get tricked into doing something, well, yeah, congratulations, you've got me for another month. But you know what? I may have thought that you were okay. I may have been considering continuing, or I may have not wanted to. But guess what? As soon as you renew me for another month without telling me, my opinion of your service or your app goes from here down to here instantly. It's the easiest and quickest way for me to stop enjoying a service or stop thinking something is cool. Now, I've tried to think the flip side of this. I've tried to understand this from a business perspective, but every single time I keep coming back to the fact that this business model is built around people either being ignorant or lazy, like me, or just forgetting to do something, or not remembering, not realizing. So yes, we as consumers, caveat emptor, buyer beware, all that stuff, but we're paying the lazy tax because we're continuing with these services that we forget to renew. What do you think though? Is this a good model? Is this a bad model? I use the video editing. I know there's a lot of good video editors. They'll remain nameless. A lot of good video editors on iOS that use a subscription model. Now, that's no problem. If you want to pay $3 a month to use something instead of paying the $30 you have to pay for LumaFusion, which is what I use, then cool. But you know what? 10 months in, you've already paid for it. So the one-off payment, you do have to think longevity. You do have to think, how long will I be using this? And if you're 5 years in and you've been paying your $3 a month, well, guess what? You're now $150 into whatever it is that you're actually using there. So consider that when you're going in with a subscription service. What is the positive side though? You might be saying, Pete, you're whinging. And I know, because it's a rant. That's what we do. What is the positive side? Well, it's that Apple actually have a really good framework for this. I'll jump over to where I'll show you this, but Apple actually have an easy way to manage your subscription. So I wanted to dovetail this rant with a tip here at the end. I'm just going to jump in my settings, in my iCloud Apple ID settings, and into my subscription section. So you can see what Pete's subscribed to here. Make sure that there's no info on there that you're not allowed to see. If we bring this up here, we're going to add that back in. If we bring this up, take a look. So here are my subscriptions. So currently I only have Disney Plus. I've cut myself off from the subscription teat here. I've only got Disney Plus on here. But in the past, I've had Apple Arcade, and guess what? I got a month free, forgot to cancel it, paid for a month, barely used it. The Ultimate Guitar Tabs HD, I had a free week, it expired, I've not renewed that. KO Sports, and my Apple Music subscription. The reason I'm showing you this is that this makes it actually super simple to manage your subscription. So if you have the option to subscribe within the app in iOS, do it, because you get control then. So I could come back in here of these expired ones, I could restart if I wanted to, or let's just say I don't want to binge watch The Simpsons, I do, but say I don't, I can actually cancel my Disney Plus subscription right in here. So I could just come in here, hit cancel subscription, and then that actually cancels it directly in there. You don't have to go searching through, you don't have to find the email address, you don't have to go through the sales and retention funnel of your favorite app where they will throw different offers at you. Sometimes they even ring you. If you've given them your phone number, they might give you a call and say, oh, if you stay, we'll give you 2 months free. Yeah, they want to try and keep you. And that's fine, but do the right thing. Try and keep me in my services by being upfront, by giving me a reminder, by telling me that my stuff is about to renew. Maybe I'm dreaming, maybe this is too much to ask, but I don't know. To me, it just seems like common sense, customer experience would tell me that this is what we should do. What do you think? Yes, that's my view, and that's what I'm going with. Yeah, so Scott says here, they're always quick to remind you it's about to expire if you cancel or not renewing. Yeah, so they'll definitely do that. Yep, and Jade says, I always add the date to my calendar. It's ultimately up to me, as they are not going to change the model. And that's true. And it's a weird thing, isn't it? That we just have to realize that that's not going to happen. And Nick says it's the exact reason that I don't use the free trials. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, let me know. Maybe again, I'm over exaggerating, but I like to have a full rant on these sort of things because I just can't get past the fact. Like with 2020 here, people, where I'll tell you a quick story and then we'll move on. So the water company here, there is only one water company because it's a semi-government run thing here. And I got an email yesterday saying, "Dear Mr. Sir, your credit card expiry date ended. Therefore, your direct debit dishonoured. We've charged you a $10.50 fee. Please go onto our website and add new details because we've cancelled your direct debit. You're done to us." And I thought, hang on, they haven't actually told me that. Again, should the responsibility sit with me to check every billing service that I have and check my credit card expiry date? Yeah, maybe. But you know what? I've got about 7 other billers, and they all sent me a text, an email, an app notification saying, hey, Pete, just so you know, your next bill's not going to come through because your expiry date's expired, buddy. And I go, thanks, Vodafone. And I jump in there and I go, new date, submit, cheers, done. Again, what is wrong with these companies that they can't actually get their stuff together? Anyway, I'm getting way off track here. All right. So Q&A section here. I did see a question. If you do have a question, this is your time to shine and to ask what you want. The other side of it, and yes, as much as I do wish that everything was free, I got no problem with supporting app makers and developers and manufacturers making good products, good services. Absolutely. Like, charge me a fair price for what you're actually putting out there. But just, don't trick me into buying and paying for something that I clearly don't want. So Amazon Prime, when I've had your subscription for 30 days and I've watched 0 shows and you renew me, maybe send me a thing saying, hey, doesn't sound like you're actually getting a lot of value out of ours. You're probably going to auto-renew and be very unhappy. Cubase versus GarageBand, the winner. Yeah, so we will talk about that. I've buried the lead here, I know. We are going to talk about that in just a moment because I put the title of this one, Move to Cubasis 3. We'll talk about that in just a moment. So hold that thought because that's our very next section. I thought I saw myself another question here. Once again, put question in front if you do have a question. We did have one here from Ian. Question is, does anyone have any quick vocal tips? Well, I've got one that's coming up in the tips here, and I'll try and throw a vocal spin on the tip that I'm going to give you here. Tuning in late, are you switching to Cubasis? We will talk about that right up next here, Finn, because that is definitely the main topic of this show. So, in fact, let's move on. Let's do that. So you may have been watching the series in the last week and you've gone, hang on, what happened to Pete and GarageBand? I thought this channel was all about GarageBand. Why is it that every time I tune into Studio Live today, Pete has this sort of screen up there and he's rocking out in Cubasis? Well, it's because the month of August, for the whole month, I will be out of my comfort zone. I'll be stretching myself and I'll be trying different things. So the first cab off the rank here is this one. That one is Cubasis 3. I'm then going to check out Audio Pro, and then I'll probably spend a couple of days on some of the smaller apps like Beatmaker 3, might even check out Cool Gadget, just to really test the waters and see what's out there. Because for the longest time, if you've been following on this channel, you'll know that I've used GarageBand. I still use GarageBand. I love GarageBand. Monitoring, because it is just simple, it is easy. In fact, I've gone to Cubasis, I tap on GarageBand, and I instantly just go, it gives me this feeling of comfort and home. But that's because I'm used to it, and that's because I'm in my comfort zone here in GarageBand. What I wanted to do was see, for folks who are at the point where GarageBand perhaps is limiting them, or they want to experience what else is out there, I thought I'll take one for the team. Instead of you having to take on free trials or buy software, I will actually check it out. And already a bunch of people have said, Pete, based on your experience so far, I've gone out and bought Cubasis. And great. Like, that's great for Cubasis because they've created a good product here. Steinberg are a good company. I do have a lot of trust and faith in them. Is it going to be for everyone, and will I be switching full time? Answer is no, probably not, but it's an extra tool, yeah? So what am I liking in this? I'm liking the stretch time, I'm liking the master fader, I'm liking the send effects and the receive effects, I'm liking a lot of the functionality that we don't have. But what I need to work out is, do I like this now because it's a novelty? Because it's something I haven't had, but the proof will come when I actually go to start recording a whole song. Will it actually improve my workflow? And I can't remember who it was. Whoever you were, put a comment down and say, yeah, that was me. Someone actually mentioned this, one of the regular contributors to the channel, and said, it's all good, Pete. Yeah, it looks shiny. It looks like it's got some cool stuff. But when it comes to your workflow and recording a song, is it going to help you? Is it going to speed up your workflow, give you a better sounding result, or is it going to slow you down and give you a worse sounding track because you're not used to it? Now, not being used to it, or I don't think they actually said that, but not being familiar with it and still learning is not an excuse to say, well, I shouldn't keep trying. But it is a valid point that if I right now wanted to sit down and say I had one day, I had 24 hours to record a song, and I had to get it out there, what would I turn to? Well, it would be GarageBand. It would be a no-brainer. I would open up GarageBand, I would start recording. But I'm actually enjoying some of the things in here. And if I wanted to, say I was mixing a track, so someone sent me 8 tracks right now, and they wanted me to mix it, I'd probably go, well, actually, the mixing options here in Cubasis are actually really cool. I actually really like the channel strip that I've been playing around with. I like the master fader. I like adding effects to the master there and doing my mastering all within this. I like the ability to edit and stretch things and time stretch and beat match and all of that sort of stuff. So I know that's not much of a verdict. Should you move to Cubasis 3? No, I don't know, because it depends on you and your workflow. If you're just starting out, I would say a resounding no, because I think GarageBand gives you a really good introduction to learning how to bring together digital audio into a digital audio workstation. I think if you've used GarageBand for a year, you've watched the videos that I did, the 5 videos in the series on Cubasis, and you go, yeah, that's actually really cool, I want to check it out, then I would go and check it out. It's a $50 app, so it's an investment, but it's only a one time. There's no subscription. And then there are some additional plugin and bundles and packs and things, which I will be checking out in the next couple of days. So keep an eye on the channel. If you want to learn more about Cubasis, if you're Cubasis curious like me, and you want to find out what goes on here, then yeah, join in and check out the videos. I'll link them down in the description, or just search my name, Pete Johns Cubasis, and you'll be able to find them, and then you too will be able to record. When you open your eyes up to the sky above, and you songs like that. Cool. So yeah, would I switch? Yeah, probably, maybe, sort of. And again, I say this every time. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that's because I actually believe in what I say. I'm not going to change what I say because I believe in it. And that is that there is no right and wrong. There is no black and white. There is no yes and no when it comes to music. There is you, your workflow, and what you're trying to achieve. So I will never begrudge anyone for using whatever they want to use. If it's producing you good results, then more power to you. By the same token, I'll never tell anyone what they should and shouldn't use. Again, people come to me and they're like, oh, I use Logic, I use Reaper, why should I use GarageBand? And I say, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. Like, don't take a step to another. Don't move to something else without a valid reason to do so. I still stand behind that comment. I haven't switched my thoughts on this. I haven't said, yes, you definitely need to upgrade, but that's where we're at. So hopefully you find that interesting. So We Are Roses, hello to you, says, I use so many different DAWs, all for different things. Cubasis is my most used, but I use Beatmaker 3, GarageBand, Nano Studio 2. Didn't fancy Audio Pro, but having multiple doors is great. Yeah, and having selection, having a choice is often something that we could do. Righty, and Jeff, hello to you. I think if I was an expert like Pete, thank you, perhaps I would start looking at others, but I can't imagine at this point switching. I barely know GarageBand. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so take it with a grain of salt. Think what's going on, and think what's going to work for you. Scott says, I think it's why I like AUM a lot. While it's not a DAW, it's got some good mixing and routing capabilities, so you can record the channels into GarageBand or Cubasis. Yes, and that's something that I will need to check out. AUM and Audio Bus, I've never used them. Like, I just don't use them in my workflow, but apparently they are great ways to route your stuff and move things around. Oh, the rant, and that went super long, so we're going to have to catch up here. And Cubasis is not free. Yes, I know. So as I just mentioned, Cubasis is $50, $50 reduce US, 80 here in Australia, and it will be your local currency equivalent, but you get an awful lot of bang for your buck. Let's move on here. So we've ranted, we've talked about the news. Let's talk about the tip of the week, and then our plugin or app of the week. And no, it's not Cubasis. I've kept it different from there. So my tip of the week, this is a very simple one. So someone was asking about vocals before, and one of the things that I hear with vocals that is probably the biggest challenge that folks have with recording vocals is getting the level right going in. Get it right at the source. You know, Joe Gilder on Home Studio Corner has been saying that for decade plus now, but getting it right at the source is so important. And the one thing that I see folks do wrong, or not wrong, but that I think impacts their actual performance, is their input gain. Now, because I'm plugged into an audio interface here, I can't adjust my input gain here. It's grayed out. In fact, if I unplug, let's just see, if I unplug my audio interface, will I get this back? There we go. Using AirPlay, yes. So now I can adjust this. So if I was using the built-in microphone to record here, this is my input gain. So if I had it here and I was singing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that's the great alphabet song. See where that's peaking? It's peaking right around 50 to 75%. If I turn it up to here, Look where it's peaking now. It's hitting 100. See that little orange line? That means I'm way too loud. And if I sing A, B, C, D, then it's going to be way too crispy and peaky. Same thing goes down here. If I have it down here, it's barely even noticing. Look, it's barely even registering that anything's there. So setting your input gain is super important. And the golden rule that I've used with input gain over the years that's worked the best is set it so that your level, see, that's too high, so that your level is hitting between 50% and 75%, so that when you're singing, let's sing the alphabet song, see, that's too loud. You're going to bring it on down. Let's sing that alphabet song. That's about right because it's peaking between 50 and 75%. That means you're going to get a healthy signal through. You're going to get a signal that looks a little bit like that, and it's not all about what it looks like, but that gives you a bit of an indication. So you're going to get a decent, healthy signal. See, look at this bass. This bass was recorded with the input gain too low. And bass guitar in particular, you often need to crank up your input gain to make sure that your bass guitar cuts through, because your bass is a quieter instrument by nature and it's using lower frequencies. It's not going to cut through. So I should have turned my input gain up to record this bass. These vocals might even be a little bit loud. These guitars, this one here is probably just about right. That's just the sort of waveform that you'd be looking for, so that you've got a nice healthy waveform. It's definitely not clipping, but you're not recording too low. The disadvantages, so recording too high, if you clip, you can't fix it. Digital clipping is terrible. If you see those big square waveforms, that's clipping, digital clipping, and you can't fix it. Doesn't matter what you do in the mix, you can't fix it. Please just go back, turn down your input gain, and re-record it. If it's too low, you can use some other tips. You can merge it here in GarageBand, you can turn up the volume, and it might be okay. But keep in mind that you're turning up the noise floor as well as the sound. So if you want to make sure that you're not getting as much noise in there, you're getting better quality recordings. And for our friend that asked about vocals before, this is particularly the case for vocals. You want to find that range. Now, if you're listening and you're using an audio interface, I was going to try and pick it up, but it's ingrained here. Imagine I'm holding my Steinberg UR22C. You're going to use the input gain knob on that one. So again, the reason that now that I've plugged this back in, that this one is yellow, is that this is now controlled by the input gain knob. So that's what we'll be using to get our input gain dialed in, dial it into the right level and record it. Now what you're listening for, if you've ever done this before, is you're listening. In fact, can we hear it if we do this? If we turn the monitor on, yeah, you can really faintly hear it. I'll turn up the volume of the iPad here and I'll be quiet and I'll turn the input gain all the way up. Can you hear that? That's the noise floor. That's when people say, I get a lot of hiss in my vocals. Well, that's probably because your input gain is way too high. If we turn this down, take a listen. It all but goes away. We're still getting, so now I'm at like about 2/3 of my input gain, but that noise floor is gone. If we turn it all the way down, well, there's zero noise, but we're not going to get a good enough signal. So again, if you're hearing that in your background of your songs, you've got your input gain set too loud. It's a simple one, but I wanted to cover it here because it's probably the number one thing I hear that's going to reduce the quality of your home recordings, especially if you're in an environment like I am here that is not well treated and doesn't have all the things that you may need to get a quiet sound. Excuse me one moment. Sorry, I had a frog in my throat that I needed to fix and get rid of. Righty dokie. All right, I think I've ranted. Everything's turned into a rant because I didn't do my usual Q&A show, so I've started ranting on everything here today. Let's see if we've got any other questions. Yeah, so the other thing is, so Jeff has said here, whilst it's not free, you can get some specials. So use things like App Sliced, which is a good website for finding out when things go on sale, because Cubasis, as well as a bunch of other apps, are often on sale. So definitely keep an eye on those. Let's see, what have we got to go? We're way over time, but we've still got a couple of things to talk about. So let's talk about my app of the week, shall we? I'll just queue it on up here. We'll go to the App Store, and we'll get rid of Koala FX because we've already talked about you, Koala FX, and we will instead type in the name of the app, which is Audiostretch. So let's take a look at Audiostretch, shall we? Audiostretch is this one. Now, there are two versions. You can see here, there is the light version, which I've had before. We'll re-download that one. The light version is free. So I would download this first and play around with it and see if Audiostretch is going to be for you. And then the full version. Now the full version is $14.99 here in Australia. I think that's $7.99 US. Jade Star, I'm pretty sure you did a review on this, or you used it in one of yours. And I've been looking for this app for forever. So I've been trying to find this app for the longest possible time that just does one thing and does it well, which is enable you to adjust the BPM and or the pitch of your song without adjusting the other. So you can change the speed of your song, yeah. So you can reduce it down by say 3 BPM or 10 BPM, but it's going to change your pitch. Or vice versa, you want to repitch it by like 3 semitones, but you don't want to change the BPM or the speed. Well, this is what Audiostretch can do. So let's open it up, and you can see here I've been playing around with it. So this is I can't play this song, but this is actually a song that I used. It's a backing track, and I had someone here in the studio singing the other day, and she was singing this song and said, can I sing it 3 semitones higher? And I was in GarageBand at the time, and I was like, this is that one thing that GarageBand really can't do well. But take a look at this. Down the bottom here, we've got speed and we've got pitch. So you can see here, that's where I've pitched it up 3 semitones. Pitch it back, it comes down to 0 semitones, and then you can pitch it all the way up to 36 semitones either way, which for music folks you'll know is 3 octaves. So you can super chipmunk up stuff, or you can use it there. Let's see if we can grab. Let's do a demo here. I've got to remember how to use it now, because I literally used it that one time. So this is how we can export things. I think we can send things from here, or there's an app picker way to do it. Yeah, no, great demo, Pete. You don't even know how to use the app. Let's see if we can send something from somewhere else while I work out how to, because I can't remember how to import, or do I just tap up here? There we go. I worked it out. Well done, Pete. It's not like you're a music educator or anything. So we can use music. We can also do video here. This could be fun. Let's just try a video. We can take a video, we can go to our music, our video library, and we can update things. We can also go to browse and add things directly from our app here. So that was an old Ava Cassidy tune I was doing there. Why don't we bring in, let's find something cool to play around with here. We go to my iCloud Drive and we go to the Studio Live Today folder. We've got a bunch of stuff in here to play with. What about some of my old video stings and transition? So here's the old Studio Live Today intro. It's a video version, and I've never tried this with video before, so we're going to experiment with this together and see what happens. All right, that looks cool. So here's my video. It's at speed 1, it's at pitch 0, and if we play it, whoop, I've lost my dropped my mouse. If we play it and turn up the volume, it'll sound like this. Cool. But what if I'm like, I've never really liked how that goes. I've never really liked the speed of that. Whoop. That was I wanted to deliberately show you that you can actually scrub through it either way. But what if I wanted this faster? Well, let's say if we wanted to boost this up to 1.5 times the speed as it was before, but we want to keep the pitch the same. Well, we do this, we hit play. And suddenly it's going crazy fast. Or what if we wanted to keep the speed the same, speed at 1, but we wanted it to be higher? Let's take it up, say, 5 semitones higher. And now we play it. Cool, yeah? And again, if we want to go lower, we want to take it all the way down. We like it there, but we want it to be a bit lower. We want to Barry Whiteify this. Now, you're probably hearing in there that you're generating some artifacts. So speeding up and slowing down music and things is never going to sound exactly like the original. So don't go in this with expectations that it's going to be perfection, because remember, audio is like samples. So especially when you're slowing things down, it's having to stretch out. It's filling in the gaps where no samples exist. So slowing something down is actually going to make it sound usually a lot degraded. Speeding it up's not as bad, but again, it doesn't work perfectly. And then if we want to export this, we can just tap here and it will export. We can email it, we can open in, which means we can save it into anywhere we like. So when I was doing this project, as I said, I had the backing track. She wanted to sing it 3 semitones higher. So I simply said, yep, I got you. I quickly downloaded Audiostretch in the background because I didn't actually own it at that point, and then threw it in here, put it up 3 semitones, hit play and said, is this about what you want? And it played back. And then all I did was grabbed this, exported it back as a WAV file, threw it into GarageBand, and we were good to go. So yeah, I've been looking for something like this for a long time. One moment. Have to pick up my mouse. I've been looking for something just like this for a really long time because I wanted something simple enough that anyone can just throw in any audio file, and in this case, video file, and it's going to actually change that for them. And especially for electronic music producers, if you're bringing in samples, if you're sampling other songs and you want to change it up. The only thing I do wish you had was BPM detection and the ability to actually put a BPM in here. That'd be cool. You have to do a little bit of mathematics. So you have to go, well, it's 100 BPM. I want it at 120. I better put it up to 1.2 times speed. But of course, if it's a BPM of 107, and then you want it to be at a BPM of 124, yeah, you need some mathematical equations to do that. So that should be fun though. Alrighty, that is our app of the week. I hope you can get some fun out of that. Like I say, grab the free version. I'll put a link to the free and the paid version down in the description so that you can check it out. And we will close that one off just so that we can show you one final thing here that I want to do, which is our resource of the week. And we're going to be boring and super selfish here this time around, and we're going to show you what we showed you a couple of weeks ago here on the show, which is my GarageBand iOS FAQ. So if you're looking for information about GarageBand, then you can go here. So if you go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you will get to this, my goofy pictures up there. Need to change those. They've been the same for about a year. But if we come down here, we're at studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand is our GarageBand iOS FAQ. Up the top here, we've got some videos, some series that you can do. What is GarageBand? How to start a song, how to set up. My Quick Jam series, which is like about 80 2 to 5 minute videos, just about some little bite-sized chunks about GarageBand, and my GarageBand Essentials playlist there as well. And I also give a shout out here to Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide, because if you're looking for Mac stuff, this is a lot of iOS GarageBand stuff. And then I've got all of my questions and answers in here. So go ahead and search through if you've got a question about GarageBand. And if you ask me a question, I'll probably send you over here in the first place, because a lot of the common questions I get are already answered here. So you can go ahead and get your stuff there. And as Jade says here, there you go, studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, the GarageBand iOS FAQ with a little bit of Mac thrown in there as well. And of course, there's a bunch of other people that are doing GarageBand content. Not only Patrick, but we've got Dan Baker, who I think I saw here in the chat just now. We've got Dean Davis, we've got Lewin Barringer, and the GarageBand Users Facebook group is actually another great place to interact with all of those wonderful people that can help you out. Speaking of helping you out and other wonderful people creating content, I want you to tune on in 20 minutes time to Jade and her How to App on iOS series, and she'll be taking a second dive into LumaFusion and giving away a copy and a month subscription to Storyblocks. Now that's super cool. If you've watched this channel, if you've seen any video I've done here on Studio Live Today at all, every single one of them is edited in LumaFusion on my iPhone. I've been doing it for about 2 years, and it is just the greatest editor in iOS, in my humble opinion. It works really well, super powerful, but super easy to use. So do jump on over and check that one out. Righty dokie, that is going to do it. Thank you. This has been a show that's hopefully been chock full. I know we've gone about 10 minutes over the usual 30 minutes, but there was just too much to get to. And let's be honest, my rant went about 3 minutes longer than it needed to be, but that's okay. We're back into it. Do hang around this week, because we've got a couple of videos to finish off the Cubasis series, and then we will be turning our attention onto some of the other wonderful DAWs in iOS land, in iPhone and iPad land. Thank you all for being here. I wish you a great week of creating. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe, take care of yourself and of others, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.